विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे ओम ओम. So today is Sugama. So that pramana prameya vyavaharaha laukikaha vaidikascha. Both, that means the entire vyavahara, whether laukika or vaidika, is due to adhyasa. Adhyasam puraskritya, presupposing adhyasa. That means not directly Atma itself doesn't have vyavahara. Vyavahara means you have to be two people and interact. That's all it means. So Atma in its real nature is not two, is not multiple entities interacting with each other. Atma is one non-dual. So the vyavahara of subject object, pramatru, pramana, prameya, all these things, this vyavahara appears only when Atma is misunderstood as these multiple things, and there is an interaction between these pramatru, pramana, prameya. Therefore yasya pramata, we have explained pramata. Pramata is the one who is interested in knowing, wants to know something. Sa yenartham praminoti tat pramanam. The instrument of knowing with which he wants to know is pramanam. Like pratyaksha is pramanam. Okay, pratyaksha is pramanam. Sorry, this is little shaking because the stand was not right. Okay. Pramanam. Sa enartham praminoti tat pramanam. Yo artha pramiyate tat prameyam. The object of knowing is prameya. The instrument of knowing, such as perception, inference, shabda pramana, are the pramanas. Then the knowledge that rises, tatra idam pramanam, idam prameyam iti krutva, ye vyavaharaha. Now that we have a vyavahara means we have an experience that this is pramana, this is prameya, and I am the pramata. All these thoughts that I am the knower, I am knowing something, here is something which I am knowing it, and now I have known, now I got a knowledge. See this, I am the knower. Now I want to know something. Now I have known this, this is an object. Now this knowing is a relationship. Now I got this knowledge. This is a pramiti. Like these experiences, this experience of it, they are not experiences. In fact, that is a divisive one experience. One experience consisting of many parts. Parts in the sense we look at this one experience from different aspects. We can think of this one experience of the world, one waking experience, take that one wakeful consciousness, the one wakeful knowledge. Wakeful knowledge means the knowledge of the world within the waking state. This one wakeful knowledge can be looked from various aspects. The one who is knowing, and the object that is known, and the knowing process, that is relationship, and the knowledge that arises as a result of subject contacting the object. So these four aspects we can think of within one experience of waking. Okay. So he says, tatra idam pramanam iti. Tatra idam pramanam idam prameyam iti krutva ye vyavaharaha. This kind of vyavahara means this kind of experience. Vyavahara means this experience that we have now. Pratyakshadi shabda pratyaya rupaha. pratyakshadi rupa means pratyaksha, anumana, etc. This rupa tad anuguna pravrutti nivrutti rupaschate sarvepi. Then not only the knowing, after knowing, based upon the knowledge, we go about acting. See, this knowledge, when you know something, that knowledge itself gives rise to two things, either an experience or an action. Now you see something there, it's very nice, now you know it. The knowledge, are you just happy and contented and stop with knowledge? The knowledge will give you some good experience. You feel very nice. Oh, this is how beautiful it is, or it belongs to me. See, the knowledge of something either directly gives you some experience of pleasure or pain, or the knowledge you may use it for some karma, for some kriya. First, let us take how does it give you directly experience. First, when you look at a thing is beautiful, by the very look of it, by the very knowing, you become happy. The very knowledge gives you happiness. There is another knowledge, the thing is mine. When you look at a thing, oh, this is mine, the very thought of it is mine gives you some joy. So, mamakara gives you some pleasure. The perception gives you some pleasure. Okay. So, this is knowledge directly gives you some joy or some suffering also, some unhappiness. Second thing is, if you know something, after knowing it, you use the object for doing some activity, some action. You know this is here. This is a vessel. Oh, you can use it for drinking tea or coffee. Once you know that it is a cup, you know that cup can be used. As you know the cup, you know if you know how to use it, then you will use it. So the knowledge can give you either directly an experience, or the knowledge, you use the knowledge for doing some work, then as a result of the work you get some experience. Either way, all this is within Vyavahara. First there is a jnanam, second there is a karma, sometimes directly experience, sometimes first to do karma and later experience. Two ways. Okay, so all this is tad anuguna pravrutti nivrutti rupascha. When you know something, if something is useful to you, you appropriate it, you want to take it, you want to get it. If you don't like it, you want to get rid of it. Either way. So pravrutti nivrutti rupascha te sarvepi, the knowledge and all other activity based upon knowledge. First there is a knowledge, and any other activity based upon knowledge, all this is sarvepi ukta avidyakhya adhyasa purassarameva pravruttaha. All this Vyavahara is based upon adhyasa. That means Atma doesn't do this, but when you do these things, you are not in the real nature of Atma. See, two things have to be understood. This Vyavahara of knowing, acting and experiencing, these experiences of knowing, acting and experiencing, this is not the true nature of Atma. When the Atma is not known as it is, but it is misunderstood, you find yourself in this experience. So, the worldly experiences of doing, knowing, acting and knowing, doing and experiencing. Knowing, the process of knowing, the doing and experiencing. So, these three are Vyavahara. Vyavahara presuppose adhyasa, means when Atma's original nature as pure consciousness, indivisible, self-existing consciousness is not known, when it is seen differently, misperceived, in that misperception alone, this Vyavahara of knowing, doing and experiencing, which involve the very knower, known object, all those three put together. Doing also, the doer, action, activity, relation, everything. Then experiencing, experiencer, experience and all that put together. So that along with the necessary ingredients, all that is Vyavahara. Vyavahara means in the misperception of the Atma, you find this kind of a duality as well as the all the various functions. So adhyasam puraskritya, it means when you are in this field of knower known and duality, you are not knowing the real nature of Atma. In the real nature of Atma, there is no duality of knower known and all. See, this is the understanding. In the real nature of Atma, there is no duality of knower known and all. Then if you are experiencing as a knower and known duality, then you are under a misperception of the Atma. You are not knowing the Atma. That understanding doesn't represent the true nature of Atma. That is not a true understanding of a Atma. In a misunderstanding, all this individuality, subject, object, all these things go on. Okay. So this is what we mean adhyasa or mithya. This idea of mithya is wrongly understood. By mithya, they think that, oh, worldly activities are false. False means it's like a mirage. So even if you do something, they think that you do work and you don't get the result. Even the big people like Radhakrishnan talks like that. Oh, there is one biggest mistake in Shankara's philosophy is you do all work and no result. Because Jagat is mithya. See, talks like a child, and people call him as a great Vedantin and all. All his Vedantin is only a bookish. See, the very doer, the doer means the one who is acting, the action, the time and space, subject-object duality, all that is mithya, we said. And he says, you do work, Radhakrishnan says, you do work, but when it comes to result, you call it mithya. This is a very big defect in the Advaita philosophy, he says. This is his understanding of Advaita. Without a guru, when you study books, this is what happens. He was neither a jignasu, he was not a mumukshu, he was not a sadhaka of Vedanta. He was only an intellectual scholar who studied and lectured and then got a name and became president and all that. But Vedanta has never been his a sadhana, tattva vichara, and he was not a sadhaka, jignasu, brahma jignasu, and not studied from a guru, nor spent his time in meditation, tattva vichara, self-enquiry and all that. He studied as a bookish knowledge and became a professor and then worked in Oxford and he got a good name. Okay, foreigners, mainly that British people have misunderstood, misrepresenting Vedanta. Conceptually, he went and explained to them somewhat better. But himself was not a Vedantin. He was a Vedanta scholar, but not a seeker of a truth with Vairagyam and Antarmukata and meditation and all. He was not a sadhaka of Vedanta. Okay? He was a scholar of Vedanta. Like you can be scholar of any other subject, economics, any other subject. You could be economics, politics, sociology, any other subject. You can be just a scholar. Anyway, we are not interested in studying the biography of Radhakrishnan. If he is not a sadhaka, so what? That's not a crime at all. Anybody, if not, it requires a vairagyam and jignasa. If he is not, so what? So we are not blaming him. One is his misunderstanding of Vedanta. Because he is a purely intellectual scholar. As an intellectual, you are most likely to misunderstand. Most likely to, you can only misunderstand. Unless you are a jignasu and study from a guru, you can't understand what is the right one. And Vedanta is not meant for time pass, not for intellectual curiosity. Therefore, a person who has intellectual curiosity is bound to misunderstand what is mithya. Okay, big scholars and philosophers have misunderstood what is mithya. Why can't these? Any ordinary person? He is a scholar, but when it comes to Vedanta, he is a common man. He is like any other ordinary person. Therefore, his understanding of Vedanta is as shallow as any other common man. So that's nothing wrong about it, because that's how any common man is, and he is also like that. But he did study as a scholar. He went and explained to people as a university professor. He wrote books. So, but in writing books also, many other places he explained, but some places he does like that. He should have asked the gurus, but why should he talk about his personal misunderstanding as a part of his philosophy book when he himself is not a seeker of truth? He neither studied from a guru, nor a seeker of truth, nor understood the truth. So why should he say that? When you are an ordinary man, you don't know. It is just like a person who is asked to proofread, or who is asked to do a DTP work, a typing. A writer writes a book, a typist asked to type. When he is typing, after typing at the end, he writes, oh, this is not convincing. You are a typist, simply type and go away. Who are you to comment on the subject? So he is not a Vedantin. So why should he comment on the subject from his personal standpoint? Why should he put his personal misunderstanding and blame Vedanta when he himself is not a Vedantin? This is what I am asking. Okay? Other than this, everything is okay. He was a very respectable man, very great scholar. He did a good job as a scholar itself. He did a very good job, very well job. Okay? Our criticism should be balanced. It should not be extreme. As I told, I don't want to be extreme. He's a good one. He was a dedicated person. He studied as an intellectual scholar, well. He presented them with his very good English. In India, he is known for his good English. In my younger days, I used to see my senior people, oh, Radhakrishnan, very good English, very good English. Radhakrishnan is a very fluent and very, in those days in 40s, in 30s and 40s, his English was so good. And people would appreciate, praise him. Radhakrishnan is coming. People would go to listen to him for sake of his English. Nobody would understand his Vedanta. Anyway, which he himself didn't understand. But he was a great scholar. His English was very good, like Britishers of those days. Okay? I remember even now my seniors used to say, oh, Radhakrishnan's beautiful English. They would go directly to listen to him. Okay, all these things are good and respectable, and we leave him. But one point about it is that mithya is misunderstood. That's what I want to say, remaining we leave him. So the very pramatru, pramana, prameya, whole avastha is a misperception about the Atman. So this misperception only is referred from the standpoint of absolute truth, not in the day-to-day living and interaction. Supposing you are an individual and interacting with the world. An individual interacting with the world, there is no problem. The question of mithya doesn't arise. See, this every Vedantin, particularly Advaitins, should understand, and non-Advaitins are bound to misunderstand. They will accuse you, they will criticize you. But at least it should be clear to you. I give you an example, take of a dream. In dream, you are an individual facing the world. When you are an individual looking at the world, learning, thinking, understanding, interacting, all that is true as long as you are in dream. We say mithya. Mithya only means when you wake up from dream, the dream as a whole state becomes mithya. See, mithya comes into picture. The mithya, the thought of mithya comes with reference to the whole state, not when you are living in the state as a part of a state. You are as an individual, you live in the state. You live as an individual. Your sense of individuality is true. The world which you are interacting is true. The good and bad and the right and wrong, all those things apply there. So there as an individual, when you are interacting with the world, question of mithya doesn't arise. We are not talking of mithya at that level, as Radhakrishnan has misunderstood. The person, when he is interacting with the world, when he is doing work, trying to understand the science and the Laukik worldly branches of knowledge, all the knowledges are okay. The natural laws of the world, all that is okay. Okay? All that is existing. There are laws of nature in the world. So you can learn science, you can learn sociology, you can learn economics, you can learn any subject. And you as an individual interact with the world and the people and everything, learn and interact and go on. It is governed by certain laws. And the laws will produce you some karma phalam. That's why we say it refers to karma kanda. Karma kanda means the cause and effect relationship. When you live as an individual surrounded by the world, you live within the level of cause and effect relationship. So the cause and effect relationship applies to you when you are an individual within the world. Whether in the waking state or in the dream state, you remain as an individual and interacting with the world. Only the law of cause and effect applies. But the cause and effect law, it is at two levels. One is a physical level, another is a supernormal level. Therefore, we talk of that is a religious level. One is a normal physical level, another is a supernatural occult level of cause and effect, that is punya, papa, the religious good and bad rituals. You get religious merit and demerit, that is punya and papa, all that you get. So the other world, for whatever good and bad you do, you get punya and papa in the next birth or in the next world. All this next world and this world connection, this Janma and next Janma connection, all this is governed by the law of cause and effect. So this is covered by Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means the ritualistic portion of the Veda. So this common man's life, you take yourself for granted as an individual. You stand as an individual, you live in time and space, and you live in the world. In this level, this is one level of living. In this level, no question of mithya. Okay? Therefore, that's why we say rebirth is there, karma, karma phala, karma and its result. All this is relevant because you are living at the level of cause and effect. Cause and effect. But there is another level where you transcend the whole state. Whole waking state or whole dream state you stand in, you transcend, you cease to be an individual. The dream individual, dream world and interaction, time and space, whole state you just de-identify and then wake up as a Sakshi. Wake up means you remain a Sakshi and not an individual who is a part of the dream world. Individual who was a part of the dream world is one thing, and one who is a witness of the whole dream state who stands outside the state. So these two levels. So the idea of mithya is a teaching. Okay? The idea of mithya is a teaching to help you to come out of your individuality and look at your entire dream state from the standpoint of Sakshi. Okay? To transcend your individuality and stand as a Sakshi. Mithya word, the teaching of mithya is used here. So here you have to understand, mithya means your sense of individuality and the world and interaction, time and space, cause and effect relationship, the entire state ceases to be real when you look at the dream state from the standpoint of a Sakshi, as a wake-up person, as a person who woke up from dream. When you wake up from dream, or there is another way of looking at another level of looking, let us say, as another level of looking at the dream, you are not a part of the dream, you are out of a dream. That person is not a person now, he is a consciousness, he is a witnessing consciousness, Sakshi. From the standpoint of witness, dream is mithya. Okay? The entire dream is mithya to the Sakshi level. So when we talk of mithya, we are asking you, Shruti is expecting us, Shastra is expecting us to drop your individuality, de-identify with individuality, come to the level of Sakshi. So de-identifying with your individuality and de-identifying with the entire dream state and come to the level of Sakshi, witnessing consciousness, this shifting your vision is what is meant by mithya. Okay? If you remain an individual, as an individual, you are a part of the dream state and interact with the world, all that is there, no question of mithya. Mithya comes into picture when the entire state you transcend. You transcend to the level where there is no duality, no dream state. Similarly, regarding waking state also. When you are a waking person, part of the waking world, when you are a waking person, part of the waking world, you are interacting with the world within the cause and effect relationship, within the law of cause and effect, time, space, objectivity, all that applies there. So within that, as a waking individual, within the waking state, no question of mithya. World is there because you are there. You and the world live at the same level. But when we talk of mithya, you transcend your waking individuality. It is to the individuality that the world appears. You transcend your individuality, then the world is not for you who has transcended. Not this. You who stand as a witnessing consciousness, you stand as a Sakshi of the entire waking state. To that Sakshi, world is not there. Then you can say Mithya. So the Mithya means an understanding, not an action. Mithya is not a belief. Okay? Mithya is not a belief. Mithya is not an attitude. Mithya is not an action. We are not asking you to entertain a feeling of Mithya, a thought of Mithya, an attitude of Mithya. Mithya is not an attitude you are supposed to entertain. No. Mithya is not an attitude. Mithya is not an opinion, an idea to keep in view while interacting the world. No. Mithya means there is another level in you, another experience, another level in you. When you transcend to that level, world ceases to be there for you. World becomes Mithya for you. So it is only helping you to transcend from one level to another level. The Mithya is used here. Okay? If this is understood, nobody should have any confusion. If you take yourself to be an individual, then the world and interaction, time and space, cause and effect, everything applies there. There is no question of Mithya. You work and you get the result. Good and bad, either good or bad. But the individuality, world, the time and space and relation, cause and effect as a whole state, as a whole is transcended, left there, de-identified, and you stand as a witness of the consciousness. This transcending is implied by the Mithya. Mithya means, Mithya is for whom? To the Sakshi. To the witnessing, to the witnessing consciousness, entire waking state is Mithya. That means you don't look at the waking state as an individual. You cease to be individual. Your individuality you give up. You de-identify with your individuality. You de-identify with the body, with the mind, with the sense organs, with the I thought, I notion. Your I notion doesn't exist for you. You stand as a pure consciousness without an I notion. Okay? That means you are not an individual living within time and space. So this experience of time and space, standing as an individual within the world, this thought is transcended. This thought, this mind is transcended. So to give up this individuality and come to the Sakshi, once you give up, you wake up into your Sakshi nature. There you have understood Mithya. Understanding Mithya means, Mithyatvam is an understanding, is not an attitude. Is not a feeling you are supposed to enter. People ask, Swamiji, world is Mithya. I want to be witness. I am trying to be witness. I am not able to be witness. Please teach me how to be witness. See, witness is not something you can just pick up as an idea and try to practice it. They say, you help me to understand, and no, I know how to be witness, but I am trying to practice. I am unable to stay. So you help me to practice. Mithya is not a practice. Witness is not a practice. Witness is a discovery. Discovery cannot be practiced. Okay? It is a discovering an another level of you, an another standpoint within you, which is your own nature, where the world is not separate from you. You don't exist as an individual, and world doesn't exist you as a separate entity. All of them become one with you. So, understanding world as a Mithya and understanding yourself as the pure consciousness is an understanding, is not an opinion. It is not a feeling to be practiced. It is not. Karma Yoga, here you offer your karma to Ishvara. You offer regarding the result of your action. Action means any behavior, any interaction. Regarding tomorrow, what happens regarding tomorrow? Regarding what happens tomorrow? Regarding what is going to happen next? Regarding that, keep your mind tentatively open, tentative expectation. Don't have a fixed, rigid, strong expectation. You will be disappointed. So, not insisting on the outcome. Not insisting on the outcome. Be open regarding the outcome. This is called Karma Yoga. That means I am working hard. I am trying to do something, but regarding outcome, I am not sure. Yes, nobody is sure. Though you work hard, Yet regarding the outcome, be tentative expectation. Open-minded and tentative expectation. This is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is a feeling, regarding a feeling, an attitude. Regarding the result, regarding the outcome, be open. Open in the sense, ready to accept whatever comes. If you want a fixed expectation right now, if you see the circumstances are not conducive, you get upset. Okay? Therefore, regarding the outcome, wait until the outcome comes. Don't jump to imagination. That's all it means. It is an attitude. It is a relationship. It is a feeling how you entertain. Okay, Karma Yoga is a feeling. You can entertain, you can retain, you can continue to practice it. But a discovery, an understanding cannot be practiced. You can only watch. You can inquire. You can investigate. You can keep on observing. A discovery dawns upon you as a result of observation. Okay? Discovery, knowledge that the world is mithya, you are not an individual, but you are a witnessing consciousness. This knowledge arises in you. Sakshitvam, the witnessing nature, is a discovery as a result of watching the world according to the teaching of Vedanta. How you watch. Therefore, Atmatvam is a discovery. Knowledge is discovery. Mithyatvam is an understanding, is not an attitude to be practiced, is not an idea to be practiced. An idea can be practiced. Okay? An attitude can be, you can entertain the attitude again and again and again. You can keep on retaining. If it slips down, again you can try to retain. So in Karma Yoga, a feeling, an attitude, a thought about, suppose I say, this is a very holy. Oh, you never knew this. Oh, is it really? Yes, it is holy. But again you forget it because of your old habit. Repeat that, oh, this is very holy. I should not take it for granted. I should not look down upon it. It is a secular or a worldly thing. It's a very holy. Prasada is holy. Temple is holy. A certain book is holy. But book is normal for any sense organs. If you look at the book through your sense organs, you see the same thing. It is the mind that attributes a holy feeling. Holiness is a feeling, is an attitude. This you can practice because this comes by will. By will you keep on retaining that feeling of holiness. Over a period of time, that feeling becomes reinforced in you, then spontaneously the feeling comes. So here, this can be practiced, but understanding the truth cannot be practiced. World is mithya, is an understanding it from the level of Sakshi. From the level of the Sakshi, when you look at the world along with your individuality becomes mithya. So mithyatvam is an understanding. Okay? People ask me, I am trying to be witness. How can you be trying to be witness? Who will be trying witness? As an individual? As an individual, he tries to be witness. If as an individual you try to be witness, individuality is identified with the body, mind and sense organ. That individual is a part of the world. Then as an individual, if you look at the world, you will see the individual objects within the world. You don't see the whole state. Okay? You don't see the whole waking state as a whole. You see the individual objects within the waking state. When you see objects within the waking state, when you see the objects within the waking state, you will be within time and space. You will be in the relationship of subject and object. There no question of mithya. You stand as an individual, then you are related to the worldly objects, subject, object, you use them, know them, experience them. That is the subject-object duality. In this duality, you live in time and space and interact with the world, you are a part of the world. No question of mithya. You can entertain certain noble feelings, ideas, that it is a God's creation, you are not supposed to feel abhimana. Abhimana means the conceit about it, and you just take it lightly, and then all those feelings you can entertain and practice. Attitudes you can entertain and practice, but not understanding of truth. Understanding of the truth is not a matter of practice. Note this. You keep on watching, listening, the contemplating the way Vedanta tells you. Vedanta points out from certain level. You keep on looking at it from that level. In trying to look at it, you shift your vision. You drop your individuality and come to the level of a Sakshi. And from that Sakshi, when you look at the whole waking state, it doesn't exist apart from you. This is called Mithya. Okay? Don't bring Mithyatvam from every common man. Vedanta reads some book one day and first day says Mithya, 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 Mithya. This Mithya has become a delusion for people. Mithya is becoming a terrible delusion. In fact, some non-Advaitins have criticized Advaitins for this alone. So, you can't practice Mithya as an individual in interaction with the world. When you are interacting with the world as an individual, world is there and you are an individual gone. That's all over. There is only time and place, cause and effect relationship applies. No question of Mithya. Mithya comes into picture when you transcend your very individuality. That is Mithya. When you transcend your individuality, you come to the Sakshi level. At the Sakshi level, at the level of Sakshi, you are neither an individual nor there is a world other than you to interact with. That understanding is Mithya. Therefore, Mithya is shifting your vision to the absolute level. It is an understanding, not an idea to be practiced, not an idea to be repeatedly entertained. Okay? So, if you are an ordinary man, learn better values. Values of Karma Yoga, okay? Bhakti, holiness, etc. Learn them. People are confused fellows, they ask questions. Sometimes I am bored, I don't want to answer at all. Because it is a deeper subject to be understood. They pick up the high Vedantic words and then come and ask question. These are all looking ridiculous, it is. Isn't it? If you say there is a bacteria, there is a virus, and that person says, oh, show me where is that virus. I can't show you directly, you require microscope. Oh, without a microscope, show me, I can see. I'm willing to see. But Swamiji, I've been seeing, I've never seen any virus anywhere. What does it mean? Can you see virus with your bare eyes? Can you see bacteria with your bare eyes? If you want to see the bacteria and virus with your bare eyes, there is no bacteria, there is no virus. You don't see them at all. You have to come to a different level. Your perception level has to change. You can't see from your bare eyes. You have to go to a different level. Then only you will be able to see the bacteria and virus. Because bacteria and virus exist at a different level. Not with your perception of bare eyes. Similarly, your individuality as a person who identify with body, mind and sense organs, at that level you look at it, world is not Mithya. And you are not a Sakshi. You can't be Sakshi. To be Sakshi means drop your very individuality and give up the whole world. Whole world doesn't exist for you. You exist as a pure consciousness. You wake up from the whole waking state. Okay. You exist as a pure consciousness, timeless, spaceless, dimensionless, non-dual existent. It is you turn your attention inward with the help of Vedanta, do Avasthatraya Viveka, and all that you come to discover yourself. It is a matter of discovery, not a matter of practicing, is not an attitude. And he says he remains an individual. In the worldly activity, he wants to be witness. See the question. In the daily activities of the world, he wants to be witness. In the worldly activity, how can you be witness? In the worldly activity, you remain an individual and facing the world. And as an individual, you are facing the world. Time, space, object, good and bad and right and wrong, cause and effect, all that applies. How can you say that? So, these childish people don't understand anything. And they put a question on the Facebook and ask me to answer as if 1 or 2 sentences. So, what is a deeper subject to be understood over a period of time with a long Vedantic thinking inquiry? He just wants to say it's a Mithya. Or if he doesn't understand, he says, this is a foolish idea, that how can world be Mithya? Anything is a superficial conclusion, jumping to conclusion. Either trying to practice as a Mithya or whether rejecting Mithya. Both are equally superficial. Rejecting the Mithyatvam or Accepting Mithyatvam, both are superficial. Both are only simply concepts. Okay. People have to listen. You have to live. You have to come to much deeper level. Then the question of Mithyatvam understanding arises. Okay. People, everything just as a superficially time pass, you go there for 2 minutes and 3 minutes and you understand Vedanta and just live your, after Vedanta you want to live your worldly life. See, he says, I want to understand Vedanta. Afterwards I live my worldly, I have got a lot of things to do in my life. If you have got many things to do in life and there is a life, there is a world and all that, then what kind of Vedanta is it? Vedanta is you transcend from the whole worldly level. It is in another level where there is no world, where you don't exist as an individual. That's a totally different level. A different level of understanding. Shifting your vision to that level. Instead of that, they want to be witness in the world. In the daily business and worldly activity, etc., want to be witness. How can you be that? How can you do with that? That level is Karma Yoga applies. Learn Karma Yoga. He says no, he wants to be Sakshi. These are all pervert fellows. Not pervert. I can say it is an egoistic. What is, he cannot understand it, but he uses the big words and confused fellow and wants to confuse. So there is no point in wasting time with such people. Those who don't want to learn and just want to act, just ignore such people and don't waste your time in talking to such people. Okay. So Vyavahara. Even people like Radhakrishnan who taught Vedanta whole his life also is an ordinary man. Like a person who put this question, Radhakrishnan also put the same question. So, because as a simple intellectual, how can you understand? It requires a vairagyam. It requires antarmukata. All your outlook to life changes. Your interest in life, the worldly pleasures, worldly events, name and fame and everything you should give up. Total vairagyam, come to a higher level, then do vichara. It is a question of inquiry, investigation. When you keep on observing according to the Vedantic teaching, of course, then the Avastatraya Prakriya and etc. Then at the culmination of that self-inquiry, you come to discover that the whole world is mithya and you stand as Brahman. Non-dual consciousness. Okay. Mithyatvam comes only at that level. If you are prepared, then do it. And it is a long teaching. You can't just sit here for 2 minutes and 3 minutes, ask me to teach how it is mithya within 2 or 3 sentences or 5 sentences. That is ridiculous. Your mind is not prepared to listen at all. And such mind wants to understand what is mithya. If you can't understand, dismiss a Shankaracharya and everybody talks ill of them, disrespectfully talk of them. As if it is Shankaracharya says a personal view and he is trying to impose you. He discovered, what he discovered is trying to help you. Shankara is helping you to understand. If you understand, understand. If you don't understand, leave him. No question of becoming anti-Shankaracharya, anti-Advaitins. If you understand, understand. If you don't understand, leave it. Why worry? But they make it as a matter of hatred now. Hatred, prejudice, criticism, now all this is political. Political means egoistic problem. Political means ego only. Now, so he says, a common man, he has to understand how world is mithya. You remain an individual and try to understand the world. And instantly we should understand as a concept. Oh, this is the problem. Okay. Therefore, don't do too much of this mithya into the very common man. Everywhere these days have come. In the Facebook, some people put a question. What is mithya? Everybody tries to answer. A fellow who has never studied Vedanta in his life, he starts answering it. He doesn't try to understand. He answers. Kalau Vedantinas sarve. People are ready to answer. There are all gurus alone. There is no disciple at all. People don't learn as a student. They become directly gurus to teach without knowing what is Vedanta. Without studying Vedanta from his guru, he reads a book and wants to teach. Okay. This becomes confusion only. Okay, so here Vaidikaha laukikascha laukika means what? Laukika means without the help of the Shastras, whatever you have a natural understanding, instinctive understanding, instinctive interactions, understandings, experiences is called Laukika. Vaidika means with the help of the Shastra you have a certain understanding, like rebirth, like the Atma continuing to exist in the other world. Okay. Third is your Punya Papa. Whatever you do, good and bad, you will get the Punya Papa accordingly. These three are Vaidika. So based upon Veda, based upon Vedic teaching, you entertain certain ideas, certain convictions, certain beliefs and follow them and live according to them. That is called Vaidika. Vaidika means Karmakanda, religious ideas and feelings. You believe them and practice. When you believe and practice, you see that your understanding of the life changes. You become a more mature person. Okay. But all that is within Adhyasa. Okay. Vaidika. Na kevalam laukika vyavaharaha. Sorry. It has fallen down. Okay, I'll just finish these 2 or 3 sentences because this paragraph is prolonging for so many weeks. I think I'll finish. Na kevalam laukika vyavaharaha avidyam puraskritya pavrittaha. See here, not only ordinary man's thinking and behavior, thinking and life, even the religious life based upon the religious scripture. Your belief that there is a heaven and hell and other loka, brahmaloka, pitraloka, and you have a rebirth and what you do will have connection to the next birth and other world. All this is part of a religion. So all this religious belief, religious ideas and living them, you have to change your life accordingly. Okay? You will have a better tolerant person by believing something and you see certain things as a holy and you follow Ekadashi, go to temple, do namaskara, do prayers, do japa and do parayana. The prayer is an English word. So we say stotra parayana. We call prayer means parayana. Stotra parayana and also japa, puja, meditation. All these things which you do, okay, based upon Shastra, expecting to have a punya religious merit so that you can have an advanced life. So this is apitu vaidikascha teshamapi ishtanishta prepsa jihasa prayuktatva visheshat. Because you want to religiously, you want to acquire punyam, go to the better world, okay, and that too if you want to go to heaven, you want to live for longer time so that that's why you do more punya, so that you can live longer time in heaven. Otherwise you have a little punya, you will stay for a short while and come back. Okay. Therefore, and you say this is a papa, I am not supposed to do, you avoid, you forgive, you tolerate certain things. See, the toleration when taught to you religiously, you know that, oh, this gives me papa, I am not supposed to do, I won't do. So it helps you to avoid certain evil activity, certain selfish activity. It encourages you to do certain good activity. So this is a religious function. Encourages you, inspires you to do some good works, having good feelings, good thoughts, good attitudes. Against your ego, melt your ego, humble your ego and learn these things. And avoid the wicked thoughts, wicked ideas, intolerant, angry and exploitation and all that. Help others, serve others, be generous, be selfless. So these values taught, you practice them with certain feelings, okay, feelings of holy and unholy, all that. So all that which fetches you some punyam, next world will be a better world, better life, or next janma. If not world, at least next human janma will be a better janma, like that. So all this Vaidika Vyavahara, in short the religious Vyavahara, tesham api ishtanishta prepsa jihasa prayuktatva visheshadityartaha yadyapi pratignya bhashye naisargikoyan loka vyavaharaha ityeva etavaduktam tathapi abba technically loka vyavaharaha. Okay, this is all technical point. Yes, Swamiji is explaining the Loka Vyavahara in the beginning of Adhyasa Bhasha. Just a technical, tell you within 2 minutes. The word Loka Vyavahara is due to Adhyasa. The Loka Vyavahara word was used in the beginning of Adhyasa Bhasha. But here he is telling not only Loka Vyavahara, Vaidika Vyavahara, two Vyavaharas. This problem doesn't arise, though Swamiji is trying to explain. But I feel Loka means human being, a Jiva is Artha. Loka Vyavahara means Jiva Vyavahara. So therefore no problem. If you take word Loka as a Jiva, then this problem doesn't arise, you don't have to explain. But Swamiji is taking Loka Vyavahara is a Laukika, this worldly Vyavahara, and trying to interpret. I feel this is unnecessary. Anyway, Swamiji is giving. Loka means a Jiva, Loka means world. Okay. So, in the Loka Vyavahara, he took it as a world and trying to explain. I say you take it as a Jiva. Loka means Jiva. Then this world, other world, all the worlds are included. Religious functions as well as worldly functions, both are included. So, you will not have any problem. Okay. Loka is Jiva and not world. Okay, but anyway, Swamiji taking it as a world, he is explaining. Lokyate iti lokagramara, lokyate anena iti lokogran sadhana vargaha, ittevam lokavyavahara shabdasya pramatru pramana prameya vyavahararthakatvam sikrutyaiha, tadeva prapanchate iti nadikavasham. Abba, Swamiji is going round and explaining technically. Simply one word would have been enough. Anyway, sometimes you won't get an idea. He is explaining Loka means all Pramatru, Pramana, Prameya, all the detail in short item. What Swamiji explained is true, but that so much of explanation can be pointed out in one word called Jiva Vyavahara. That's enough. Loka Vyavahara is a Jiva Vyavahara. Come, enough it is. One word is enough. Swamiji is explaining it. Okay. So, Ittevam Loka Vyavahara Shabdasnadika Athava Lokanam Vyavahara. Yes, Swamiji himself is telling now. Second reply is covering it. Yes, what I told he is already covering. Lokanam Vyavahara, Loka Vyavahara over. The second explanation is clear. Swamiji himself stated. So, don't take from me, take from Swamiji only. Athava Lokanam Vyavaharaha Loka Vyavaharaha Ityangikare Sarvopi Lokiko Vaidikoscha Vyavahara Loka Vyavahara Bhavati. He himself clarified everything. What I told, he himself have told already. Okay. Now, 36th point is completed. Shastriya Vyavaharasyapi Adhyasa Puraskaratvam. This is very interesting. How the other world and etc. People say, when everything is Brahman, then how can you say that there is a rebirth and world and punya and papa? How can you say that? This is unnecessarily, they create a conflict. Anyway, we will teach you. How can you say that there is world and heaven and hell and punya and papa? All that is one Brahma, there is no world at all. Why do you say like that? So this is Shastriya Vyavahara is due to Adhyasa. This point we will discuss in the next class. 37th point will be discussed in the next class. 36 points we have completed with today. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.